Stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's so I remember right. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, ghosts in the hallway whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, the secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Paranormal Spectrum here on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones. Today, we are live in studio. Welcome, everybody, to the show. If you guys have questions or comments throughout the show, feel free to throw them in the comments section. We are here to take your questions live today. I want to let everyone know, starting in October, the Paranormal Spectrum moves to 12 p.m. Central Time. So noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific. There we go. So for everyone that's watching it, both the Monsters on the Edge and Paranormal Spectrum will both be at the same times on Monday and Thursday starting in October. All right, guys, welcome to Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have my team. We have some new stuff up on our TeePublic page. If you want to show your support for all things we do here at Wisconsin Caps, head on over to wisconsincaps.com, click shop our store, and you can wear our logos and show your support that way. You can also head on over to patreon.com/Wisconsin Caps. We have all of our new documentaries and research comes out on our Patreon first, and then a couple weeks later you can catch it on our YouTube channel, Wisconsin Caps. We are going to be still on My Haunted Hometown. Coming out October 18th is the episode with Rick and Barbara's house on TNE. And the Bean Snapper episode will be October 25th. We are going to be at the Milwaukee Paracon October 19th. If you guys want to come out and meet the team in person, myself and Ma will be at this event. I will be doing a presentation on weird Wisconsin stuff, part of a panel with Allison Jornlin, T. Krulos, and Chitan Noir. We have a live Halloween special paranormal investigation October 27th on the CAPS social media pages. Head on over there and you won't miss that. Make sure you like and subscribe. We are going to be at the Bell City Paracon November 2nd in Summers, Wisconsin, Cryptid Con in Lexington, Kentucky the week before Thanksgiving in November. And then back in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, November 30th for Metapara Promotions Soul and Synergy Expo. And then there's some more libraries that I'm going to be at. And all through October, we are going to be at the Watertown Library, the Neenah Library, the Edgerton Library. And I think there's one more that isn't on this list. Head on over to wisconsincaps.com, click the public events tab, and you can find out more. Coming up May 9th through the 11th, we are going to be at the Wisconsin Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Convention in Appleton, Wisconsin. Going to be a fun time there. Head on over to wisconsincaps.com, click on public events for all the information there. All right, guys, if you want to show your support for all things here on the Untold Radio Network, here's how.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
All right, guys, we are live today in studio. My guest today is Carter Buschardt. He has been an investigator with the BFRO for 13 years. Originally from Texas, he currently lives in Missouri. He has nearly 100 reports published to the BFRO website and has interviewed over 400 witnesses and counting. He is an experienced outdoorsman and a trained investigator for MUFON. He studied herpetology in college, a long-time interest in Sasquatch, long-term habituation sites, burial research, infrasound, language, and stick structures. He is a true boots-on-the-ground researcher, investigator, and not a desktop warrior. He has met and visited the properties of nearly half of the witnesses whose reports have been published, and he monitors and visits several properties with ongoing habituation activity to this day. So, please welcome to the show, Carter Buschardt. Welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you. Who is that guy you're talking about? Man, he sounds fascinating.
He sounds great. I look forward to talking to him.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. The pleasure is mine, man. Now, a lot of people, as we even talked about in your bio, know you from Bigfooting, and you have all this experience with Bigfoot. And we have an entire show, dedicated to Bigfoot and other stuff. So that's not what we're here to talk about today. We can definitely talk about Bigfoot if anybody has any questions as well. But you have a book out about your experiences with being abducted by aliens.
Yeah. That's the anomaly in my otherwise weird life. This is like, I'm going along, I'm chasing apes through the forests of North America, and then suddenly I accidentally find out in 2022 that I had been abducted as a child, and it has gone on possibly to as recent, I wouldn't say an abduction, but a visitation of 2021 or 2022 here at our house. Wow. But I had no idea. I mean, it blindsided me, and I was with my wife and another couple, and we were sitting around the house, 2022, Kansas City, Missouri. We go, I wonder if I ever had a past life. I've always thought I had a past life. And we all were talking about that. We had talked about it before. They were old friends. And so we got on the internet and started looking through the phone book. I still had a phone book. We still had phone books 20 years ago. And so I found a hypnotic regressionist, and she was about 30 miles away, just straight east of Kansas City. So that was a Friday night. Called her Saturday morning, got the friends back over, and we went out to her studio and to get regressed. And it was a big barn. She had a big barn, and so she turned that into a studio. So we were sitting around on hay bales. There's regular chairs, we're just sitting around and we're watching each other go under. And so my wife goes under first, and she couldn't go under. Some people just can't go for control issues. You just, you don't want somebody running around outside your head picking things out. So, some people just can't go under. She's one of them. And so Steve went under. He had one past life he recalled. It was very interesting. I won't bore you with the details, but then Nancy went under, his wife. And she's an old friend of mine. She was the wife of my old comedy partner way back. And so she had 2 lives that she had remembered. And they were all very, very interesting. One of them tied in with her current life. And so then I was the last one to go, and we're all sitting around, and she's recording all these sessions on cassette tapes. And she couldn't get me under at first. I was just reluctant. I was kind of, if you ever watch any of those, hypnotists that go to comedy clubs and put 10 people on stage and hypnotize them all at once, and 2 or 3 don't take, I was just, for whatever reason, I was fighting or I was having difficulty going under, but now you know why. So all of a sudden I go under, and I immediately start bawling. I'm sobbing uncontrollably, and I am 7 or 8 years old in my head. And I start talking like 7 or 8 year old Carter. Get your hands off of me! Stop it! You're hurting me! I just, where's my friend? All this weird stuff was coming out of my, so much for a past life regression, but it was, this apparently was just dying to get out. And it just happened to be that we, struck gold, so to speak. So I started going into all of this stuff, and about 30 minutes later, she pulls me out, and I'm waking up, and I feel these tears streaming down my face, and everyone's just looking at me like, they just don't know, including the hypnotist. She had just gotten her license about a month before we went out. Well, she had very little experience, with anything, but she's doing a past life regression, and now she's got an alien abduction and a grown man talking like a 7-year-old kid in her studio. So she was a little freaked out too. But anyway, so that's how I found out that I had been abducted. And it's hard to tell where to start here, but I mean, the main event was hi, Lee Warner. She's a friend.
Nice.
Yeah. Me and my friend Craig, we used to hang out together in my old neighborhood in Dallas, Texas. That's where this happened. Dallas, Texas, 1958 or 9, somewhere in there. Don't know exactly. We used to hang out, and so we were racing our bikes one hot summer day in Dallas, Texas, like July. We were racing our new bikes, and we were just having fun in the neighborhood. It was very sparsely populated. We lived way out from Dallas, Texas. It just wasn't. It was a brand new neighborhood, so there wasn't a lot of traffic. But somehow we ran a stop sign in front of my mom's house, and this car goes by and almost hits it. You can feel the wind on your clothes and everything. We're going, oh God, oh crap. I hope, hope my mom didn't see that, because women didn't work back then. So she was home, and if she saw us almost get run over by a car, our death would be caused by my mother beating us. You know what I mean? What the hell are you doing? Run on a stop sign. You could have been killed. All this stuff. And it was bizarre. So, but we ran the stop sign. This car went by, and we just went, "Oh my God, what happened? How did what? How come we're not dead? What happened?" So we're just standing there. Well, the car that blew by us was a blue 1951 Buick Roadmaster. Now it's that car there, but it was blue, baby blue, sky blue. You know? And here's where the screen memory comes in. We saw that blue Buick, and that's all we remember. But when I went under hypnosis, I realized that was a screen memory. That 1951 Buick Roadmaster was the same car my grandparents had in their garage in Houston, Texas. And I never saw them drive it because by the time I was aware of their existence, you know, young, early teen, they weren't driving anymore. They were too old. They couldn't drive. So the car. Now this comes into play later, but you know what, a screen memory, that car replaced the craft that took us. If that's the memory I always had, well, there's this blue. Here's the funny part. All my life, and you've probably done the same thing. Everybody probably has done the same thing. You're telling a story of stupid things you did as a kid that might have got you killed but didn't, just to break the ice. You know, I was in sales for a lot of years, selling real estate agent, and so you go to, you know, meetings and happy hours and stuff. You just breaking the ice. You tell the story. I've told this story many times, and all I knew was that this car almost hit us, and it didn't. I'm so happy to be alive. And you know, well, yeah, I stuck a wire in a outdoor socket and almost shocked that, almost killed me. And then, you know, playing with a gun and everybody had stories. Mm-hmm. Playing with a gun, I pulled the trigger and there was a bullet in the chamber, whizzed by my head. Yeah, that kind of stuff, you know. So that's a story I told for probably 1,000 times over from the time it happened till now. And so I thought nothing of it. I was just one of those stupid things. But then I find out that me and my buddy Craig were taken aboard the craft on our bikes. We were still sitting on our bikes. And while I'm under hypnosis, I'm looking around, I'm on my bikes, got these big handlebars. I'm going, how come we're in the car? I mean, I'm already thinking this is a car, you know? And so how did we get in here? And then I hear my friend Craig screaming and yelling, but he's in this other little area in this craft in a room behind this kind of cheeseclothy screen, you know, and they're doing things to him. He's screaming bloody murder. I said, "What are you doing? Leave my friend alone. What the hell's going on?" I'm seeing all this, and he's screaming bloody murder, and I can't do anything. I can't move because I'm strapped down to this bench or whatever. I just can't move, you know. So that's the initial abduction. And what do you do with it? So, you know, that was in 2022. So 2020, I don't remember the dates. I know in 2005 and 2010, I don't know if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon. She's like one of the preeminent abduction regressionists. She's taught thousands of people. Look up Dolores Cannon. You'll
the name sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with it.
Incredible, you know. And so she'd written a dozen books. Convoluted Universes are a big series of books. But anyway, so I went under with four different women 7 times altogether. I was regressed 7 times because the stories kept getting weirder and weirder and more involved. And I was going, how could I not know this crap? Because I still just couldn't figure out how come I didn't know. So the first woman, the second, and the fourth were all students of Dolores Cannon. She's trained people all over the world. And so I thought, well, if she's the hot potato here, I'm going to go to her because she taught all these women. So I went to her in 2005 and 2010. down in Arkansas. She had a place down there, and my wife went with me on that. And she died in 2014. And her daughters still run her organization. It's huge. It's out of a little town in Arkansas. So I go under with her, and each regression confirms what the previous regression found, and then it found more stuff. So then I would go again, and thank God I had money at the time, because that stuff ain't cheap, and so I kept going, and I kept getting things. Then I went to Dolores, and then I went to her, 5 years after the first time. And then I went to her most recent student in October of last year. This is 2024. So October 2023, I went to her, one of her last students before she passed away. And she confirmed everything and then added to that. And the stuff you just go, how do I not know this? How do I, and then I start piecing it together, and then, and listening to the tapes again. And remember, I had to take these cassette tapes on a little miniature cassette recorder. Then I had to buy a little machine that transcribed it into a digital signal. And then I took the digital signal and did a Word document out of that. Then I wrote the book from that Word document. So it was kind of a pain in the butt. But so all the stuff and many things I remember as a child are not what they really were. Mm-hmm. And so how do you go back and start picking and choosing what parts of your life you want to find out are lies, and when do you want to find out the real deal, So yeah, Lee said she found out Dolores Cannon. It's mind-boggling, but if you know John Mack, you heard of John Mack? He was a Harvard professor. He was finally fired from Harvard because he was writing books about alien abductions. He was a Class A psychologist, and a regression hypnotist. He wrote 2 books. He was killed mysteriously crossing a street in London. I don't know how long ago that was, about 10 years. And there's another artist, his name escapes me right now. I'll think of it in a minute. He's well versed in all this, and he's got books out about, and this has been happening all over America. And I had no idea. So, got questions? Ask me. I'll start throwing stuff at you.
Awesome. So Whitley Strieber was from Texas as well, if I'm not mistaken. Was that about the same time, do you think, that your experiences happened?
Well, probably, because I don't know how old he is. I just turned 73 a couple of days ago. So I would say he's in his late 60s to early 70s. I don't know exactly, but he was having these things and in a waking state, but he was going through all his abductions and procedures and stuff like I was, but didn't remember it, or remembered it as something else, So I have all kinds of screen memories to obfuscate what really happened, and so, my grandmother was used as a replacement for an ET. They showed my grandmother sitting in a rocking chair in my bedroom. She was supposed to be looking like Aunt Jemima, but it was a really bad job. And so this is kind of the humorous part of it. They kept saying to me, thank you, Octopus with No Friends, that you were not supposed to remember. When I went under, I was talking to have you ever watched or been through hypnosis, where you're actually either you're talking to your super subconscious, or you're talking to the ETs through the regressionist, and you're talking to your super subconscious, which knows everything Barnaby ever did, good, bad, and indifferent, So I was going through and I was remembering all these things, but there was different memories. And so they had, whenever the ET came into my bedroom, apparently I was taken out of my bedroom many times as a kid. I had a bunk bed and I was sitting up high. So they took me out and they did stuff to me. They, the basis for my abduction, according to them, was for breeding purposes. For what do they call it? That was a word they used. Oh, meshing and melding with the alien species. They called it melding and meshing. Kind of fancy old English words, and they were testing us to see if we were compatible, and that's what they were doing to my friend. The thing was that I guess Craig had been taken many, many, many times before I was taken with him. We hung out together and rode bikes and just farted around the neighborhood when we were kids, So, and I don't know how many other times I was taken by him. I was taken with him and or somebody a lot. So they would take us and do things, and test us to see if we were compatible. And apparently we were, because they kept coming back for us. And there might be some little Carters running around. I have no idea, probably living on Uranus, I'm sorry, it's a bad joke. It's a bad abduction joke. Sorry. But so that's the gist of it, and I've got all kinds of things. They took me to the rings of Saturn. And this is how all of this stuff dovetails back into each other. Because I had gotten, back then when you could go buy a box of cereal and get a free map or a free little comic book or something. So I bought a couple of box tops, Kellogg's cornflakes or something, and I sent off the box tops, and I got a map of the solar system, and it was right there by my bed. I was on the top bunk, so I could just lay there and look at the planets and go, oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. But then I started noticing there's no stars. It's just planets. Mm-hmm. So I started going, oh, what's the deal with that? There's no stars. And so then I got to wondering about the world, because I see outside my window, there's stars, but there's none on this map. How come, some stupid thing. Why would I even notice that? Well, that's because they had taken me to Saturn at least once, maybe twice. I was taken to the rings of Saturn, and I was watching all this debris flying by. Just it looked like little chunks of asteroids and bricks, almost square-looking bricks, and just dirt and junk, just space junk was going by. I remember seeing that clearly, and that screen memory was thanks to my map on my bedroom wall, which I became fascinated with. And so, so ask questions, or if anybody has a question, because it's just, so many things were done to me, and so many times I was taken. I ended up seeing what the craft looked like. I remembered the craft under hypnosis finally. It was kind of you ever seen those Christmas ornaments that are kind of big and fat on the bottom, and they kind of go up to a point? Well, if you just turn it on its side, it was like this big thing with a long, it was like a pointed spear almost, but it was big on the end and really short and to a point on the front end of the craft. So I finally saw it and with clarity, and I saw it when we used to go fishing at this place called Joe's Creek in Castleman's Pond, Dallas, Texas, where they board horses there. So we were there. I was there daily for years with Craig and another good friend, Gordon. And we just hunted and fished, but we were taken from there many, many times. And we got to the point where we would be frightened to be there by ourselves, but we never knew why. Just one day, we both just decided, like, well, it's kind of quiet. What's and then we started noticing that there was something or somebody up above us hovering over our little fishing hole. And a couple of times I saw somebody, a being in a tree, just sitting there watching us. It was just the weirdest thing. We remember these things. So you got any questions? I'll quit yakking for a little while.
So there's so much to unpack there. As far as like going back to the melding, the meshing and stuff, did they ever tell you why they were doing that, or why they were trying to check your DNA for breedability or whatever? They had
split us apart, and we were both. I remember this. I don't remember Craig, but I remember me. I was in this kind of embryo pod thing where I couldn't move. You know, I was right. My face was like right here, and I could see out. You know, it wasn't solid, but I could see out. It was like that weird fabric, that meshy looking stuff. But I was in there, and Craig was in there in the other area screaming and bloody murder. Help me here, man. What are you doing? I'm going, crap, I'm next. I don't want to be here for this scream. I don't know what they're doing to him or whatever it is. I know I don't want them doing it to me. So it's funny now what funny then. But anyhow, so I started scratching and clawing at this thing. And they came over and said, you need to stop. You're going to be okay. We're just, you know, they were isolating us to keep our germs from touching each other. Is what they told me. I was isolated. But they took out a red laser, you know, and cut the thing open, and I was out. I was free because they were afraid I was going to hurt myself. Because I was freaking, because I was like wrapped in a sleeping bag standing up. And I couldn't do anything, you know. So they isolated us to make sure our germs were compatible, and if they were not, they would find out through the testing, you know. And I had at least 2 implants that I'm aware of. One malfunctioned and started this huge nosebleed. Bleed. It went up my nose where the implant went. And I had this humongous nosebleed when I was like 12 or 13. It was just like gushing out. It was like, oh my God, and I pulled out this long, I thought it was a blood vessel, but it was just this long booger or something, but it was, you know, kind of just hanging there. When I pulled it out, it was like you pulled out a big old piece of spaghetti, but it was pretty big around. It was like, you know, half the size of my little finger. It was big. I thought it was a blood vessel. And my mom came out and saw the blood, and she brought a towel and was, you know, wiping me. I had a checkered shirt on at the time. I remember all that real clearly, but I didn't associate it with anything. I still had no idea I had been abducted until the hypnosis. So, you know, they kidnapped me off my paper route. I had a paper route in the morning, 4 to 6 a.m. every morning. I was on my bike delivering newspapers in my neighborhood, and I was taken then, you know, and I don't know how many times I was taken, because, you know, I'm not aware. And I'm a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, 4 o'clock in the morning by myself on a bike in my neighborhood. There's no witnesses. Perfect time to take a kid, you know. And so that's what they did to isolate us and to test us for compatibility. Now, you know, I came back and many times, Craig did too, and another guy. And I tried looking up Craig, and that's a very interesting story. How much time do we have? What do we do? An hour?
Another half hour. Yep.
We got a half hour. Okay. Yeah. Well, here's the weird part. I knew Craig. He and I hung out together in our neighborhood. We're setting off fireworks one afternoon, and we accidentally burned down the backside of his parents' garage. You know, we're shooting bottle rockets. It's the 4th of July. Well, the wind blows them right back down into the dry grass right behind their garage where we were standing, and it torched their house. You know, the garage, the back of it, burned the back of it off. And so, but we hung out together all the time. I remember him clear as day. So I tried to find him on the internet. I found 7 Craigs. I won't say the last name, but I found 7 people with the exact same name, which I kind of thought was, that's a weird popular name, but it's different anyway. So I looked all up and down. And this is how I know this was done intentionally, and I was picked because of what I'm going to tell you here. So I find one guy, and I remember why we were friends. One of the reasons was we had the same birthday, September 16th, 1951. My other friend, who I called his name out several times during the regression, but I don't recall ever seeing him. My subconscious would say, well, he wasn't here. It was Robert or somebody else. Gordon had the exact same birthday, same year. We were all three the same exact age. Now, if you're going to abduct subjects for experiments, what better control group to have three kids, people, men, women, whatever ages, all being within a, say, 2 or 3 year age bracket. So you can gauge the physical responses to stimuli and experiments, you know. So I found a phone number for him, and he was living in California. And I sent an email because you could, you know, some people have you can get a lot of data on the name search. And so I sent him a post on his Facebook, but I realized when I saw his Facebook, he hadn't been on there in like a couple of years. It's one of these people that have a Facebook page and never go on there. You know, I'm on mine 20 times a day because I got books, I got an operation, you know. Anyway, so I just call him. I said, Craig, this is Carter Buschardt from Dallas, Texas. Do you remember me? Who? He didn't know me, didn't ring a bell or nothing. I said, well, Craig, we used to hang out together. We went to same high school together. We used to hang out together. We burned down the back of your parents' garage, and we were grounded by both of our parents to not let the other person hang out with them anymore because they're bad influences. Do you remember any of that? No. What's this about? I'm going, okay. I'm going to tell you something about yourself. Your birthday is September 16th, 1951. Correct? Yeah. How do you know that? I said, well, I knew it because we were friends, and it's on your internet presence. You know, that you do a name search, just got, you know, that's it. It's right there. And I said, I asked him a question. I said, have you ever been hypnotized? He said, well, yeah, a couple times. I'm not sure I believe in the technology or the science behind it, but I've been hypnotized a couple of times. And, you know, and I had already told him what this is in regards to. And we spoke for 20 minutes. If I'm a crank call or a wrong number and say, hey, I just went to school with you, we were abducted by aliens, I want to talk for a minute, click, you know, you're gonna hang up, or, you know, be polite and go, well, I'm sorry, but it ain't me again. You hang up. We talked, and he kept asking questions. I said, Craig, we know each other. We went to school. Well, I didn't go to school in Dallas, Texas. Where'd you go to school? Well, Richardson, Texas, which is about 30 miles away from Dallas, Texas. You know, Dallas is massive, you know, but there's no way he went to that school. But I called some of my fellow classmates from 1969. Nobody knew him, and he was not in the yearbook. But I absolutely know if that was the guy. Now, he might be a screen memory. His existence, he might be somebody else, and I was just given this Craig Whaley person because it was maybe somebody else. So then I thought about my buddy Gordon, because we were very, very, very tight. We were in Boy Scouts together. We were hunting and fishing and going on, you know, camp outs and stuff all the time. And so we were called the Nature Boys. And we were always in trouble for getting, you know, talking too much and all that, you know. And I had snakes and turtles and crows and raccoons. I had in my backyard, I had a big pen with all this stuff going on there. And I tried to get a hold of him, and he doesn't respond anything. There's no phone number, but I sent him an email. I said, this is why I'm contacting you. Never heard back. But what are the odds? You know, and I'm a poker player, so I know odds a little bit. And so what are the odds of 3 kids being taken or hanging out together, living in the same neighborhood, all being abducted, all having the exact same birthday, living in the same neighborhood, astronomically high, you know. So there's, you know, Craig, I knew it was him, but it could have been a fictitious person, you know. And I kept talking about other friends that are, you know, now dead. And one friend was passed away about 10 years after this. You know, I kept thinking I saw Robert, you know. So it was just, everything was there. You know, they had the birthday boys were all the same age, were young, healthy American males. You can test us, do whatever, all your genetic testing, because we're all going to test out about the same, unless we have some family history of disease or whatever. So, I mean, what do you do with all that? You know, and, you know, the aliens showed themselves to me. I saw their faces several times during the regressions, and they would make, they were making statements to me. They were kind of funny. They really kept saying, how do you remember that? You were not supposed to remember. Well, I said, you know, screen memories wear off. And that's what I told the last regression. I said, you kind of did a crappy job, because, you know, after the first one, I already kind of got an idea of what you look like and who you are. So, I mean, if your screen memories just didn't take, they didn't last long. So, I mean, so that's just the tip of the iceberg, you know, and so, you know, got a few more minutes, have 15, 20, just ask questions or whatever. I mean, you know.
We got a question here from Pyromedic. Says, did you lose any time when you were abducted, like on your paper route and stuff like that? Or were you put back instantly?
I was apparently put back instantly, because I had no idea, number one, and I had to go to school. So I had to be back at my, you know, cozy little bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I could get another hour of sleep and get up and go to school. I mean, I had paper out every day, you know, every day of the week, 365 days a year. You know, there were times my mom would get up and drive me when it was cold, bitter cold, even in Texas. You know, that's kind of funny. It doesn't get cold, but you know, if it was raining or something nasty, she'd drive me. So I didn't lose any time. I have recently, but I can attribute that to possibly Sasquatch and paradigm shifts and portals and all that. So, but as far as I know, nobody ever missed me. Nobody ever said, "Where's Carter? He should be here." You know, I was never missed. Most of it happened as a kid. You know, so no missing time as far as I know.
Same person, back to this question. I wonder if that's what dream paralysis is. You were talking about being in that cocoon, the mesh cocoon thing, and like if that's why your body couldn't move in the real world back in, like.
Well, I remember, you know, doing this, trying to get out, and I could see through the thing. I mean, here's an example of what my wife thinks was paralysis, sleep paralysis. 2 years ago, and this is what I asked the last regressionist. I had 10 questions I could ask her, and this is one of the questions I asked her: is have I been taken or visited in the last 10 years at my residence? At first, I said 5 years. I said, no, let me switch that to 10, because, you know, there's we have a lot of weird things going on in our house. Anyway, so one night I was just sound asleep, woke up 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up and my wife is getting up and going to the bathroom. And I was having this dream where 3 sets of hands were inching their way under my thighs, under my butt cheeks, and under my lower legs. And they were working their way toward so they could lift me up. And I was being moved off the edge of the bed. And I said to Sheila, I said, "Hey, are you seeing this? You see this? What's going on?" And I was having the dream that something was, I thought it was a dream. But then when she got up and, you know, turned on the light, I'm going, I see her walking, but she's ignoring me. She doesn't hear me at all. She goes straight to the bathroom. And it wasn't because she had to take a leak. She just did not hear me. And so I'm getting closer to the edge of the bed, and she flushes the toilet. And when she flushes, the hands just let me go. They dropped me. I'm still on the bed. And she came out of the bathroom. I said, "Did you not hear me? Did you hear?" You know, because, you know, by then I'm kind of irritated. So did you not hear and see what was going on? She goes, what are you talking about? I didn't see you. I didn't hear you. I got up and, and there was a glow in the room. That's the thing. There was no light on in the room, but there was a glow. It's like it was kind of dirty around the screen, but clear in the middle. It's like it's looking through a dirty windshield. It's kind of what it was. And so she said, oh, it's probably just sleep paralysis. Because I didn't hear you. I didn't see you. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, the regressionist in October of 2023, last fall, said, yes, that was them. They're telling me that was them. So as recently, so they must still want some of this card love. You know what I mean? I mean, they're still coming back. I'm too old to be of any value to any young thing, but it was just I asked, and that was confirmed. My wife still have trouble wrapping her head around that, but because she didn't see. Now she has been with me on 2 different occasions and seen Sasquatch behavior that she cannot explain. And so she's a convert, so she's aware that things go on. And she was with me along with the other friends when we first got hypnotized. And she was on with me when I went to Dolores Canyon the first time. And so she was there for the discovery as I was. I was hearing this stuff for the first time. It's all news to me. I had no sneaking suspicion until after the first tape, after the first and second tape, I was going, yeah, okay, well, I probably was taken. So now what do I do? And so, but, she's experienced the Sasquatch people here as I have. And so I think, she was going to chalk it up to that, but it was chalked up to, there's my book. So that's the gist of the story. There's so many. It's like, I think it was like 366 pages in this thing. I couldn't believe I wrote that much. But I was just transcribing the tapes, and the data was just flying off of there, But there's so much in there. It's just hard to. There's no pictures. It's all just data. It's just the facts, like Dragnet or something.
So did your wife? You talk about like the screen memories and stuff that you've had. Did she ever report anything like? Looking back at all this stuff now, did she ever remember seeing anything weird in the house? Like in the bedroom at night or anything, lights or, fog, or did she get up and like maybe they sent her out of the room to try and get you?
We have knocks on our door. We used to sleep with our bedroom door closed because we had 3 cats at the time and they fight over bed space. So I said, screw that. I'm not getting any sleep, so we'll just keep the door closed. And there'd be somebody call my name. And so we don't know what it is, but, I chalked that up to Sasquatch at the time because I was communicating with her. But she's never seen anything, but she is a sensitive, and she has seen and experienced stuff at our house before this one and at her grandparents' house in Grand Island, Nebraska. So, she's seen shadow people, and one of them came up to her, came right at her like it was going to hit her and ripped a ball cap off her head and threw it away and just disappeared. So she's experienced stuff, but she has not seen or experienced in anything, because I think most of this happened in my childhood or before we met. We've been married 23 years. And so we had just got married when we discovered this had happened, so and she would tell me because we always say, hey, did you leave that light on? Did you open that door? Did you put this plate upside down on the counter? Weird things. So she would always ask me if she, so she's not afraid to say something. She has trouble with the abduction thing simply because she wasn't there for it. than being there for me discovering it. But she wasn't there like when one of these things happened. Well, she was, but she's got all the fence about that. I don't know. I think you were just psychotic dreaming or whatever she called it. So
Interesting. Do you think there's any reason why you talked about the car that almost hit you and then your grandma sitting in the room with you? Do you think there's any like connection between why they were used frequently in like screen memories?
Yeah, it's just something, with screen memories, it's kind of a Cliff Notes version, but they will take an owl or a deer. If you saw a gray alien and you were taken, or you were having an interaction with them in any way, shape, or form, they will replace that memory with a deer or an owl, something that you are familiar with big eyes. And so it just takes a second or two to get you to divert your attention for a second and go, oh yeah, that must have been an owl. There's no such thing as aliens. That's what happens. They use my grandmother. Now, our bedroom had this rocking chair in it. Well, it did not have a rocking chair. There's no room in my little tiny bedroom back when I was an 8-year-old kid. So they had my grandmother dressed like Aunt Jemima with a do-rag and glasses. And well, Aunt Jemima didn't wear glasses, and she didn't wear a do-rag, and she didn't have gray hair. She was a black woman. Now she may have had black woman, gray hair later in her life, but the vision you always remember is black skin, black hair, black woman. So, and they would have her in the rocking chair. And when I sat up in bed to look, she would sit up and look. When I laid back down, she would lay back down. It was the weirdest thing. But what she was representing, what she was replacing was the tall ET that he ended up putting the implant back in my nose. The little 4-footers, they're kind of the drones, the worker guys, they just come and, they do their little thing. But, the 5-6 footer was the one that was in that corner waiting for the little guys to get me out of my bed, do their thing, levitate, whatever they do. And then it would take me to the craft. So that was a screen memory because that's something I could relate to. Funny thing is, we didn't have a rocking chair. I have that rocking chair in my house now. After my father died and she died, I ended up with some of the furniture. And I ended up with that rocking chair, which is down in the basement. It's just they pick things that you're going to immediately recognize and disassociate what really happened. That's the screen memory thing. And some last longer than others because they were kind of laughing at me a couple of times, these ETs, and they took on various forms when I was seeing them as I was speaking it under. They were kind of laughing and said, you weren't supposed to remember that. And they would say things like, if you think it happened, it probably did. You will never forget, but you won't remember either. Just weird isms. They were saying things to me through the hypnotist. They were saying, basically, you weren't supposed to remember that, so we don't know what to do with you now. We put the screen memories in you because you're a positive person. You're a popular kind of person. People are drawn to you. They will listen to you, and we don't want people listening to you because we don't want you telling your story. And that's what they told me when I was under. You got a big mouth, boy. So we're going to shut your butt up. Basically what they were telling me.
Writing a book about this. Don't be writing a book about this. You don't remember nothing.
Yeah, well, here it is, 366 pages. I'm sure I left some stuff off, But like I said, I've got 7 cassette tapes. I've got all these tapes, and I did nothing with them. And I have no ego as far as admitting I was scared or frightened. I just didn't know what to do. And I've had so many weird things happen to me in my life. I just figured, well, this is just another one of them and I'll just get to it. I mean, that's what I am telling myself. I may be lying to myself. I may have been totally freaked and just get it out of here. I don't want to know, how many probes can you take without somebody buying you dinner, Sorry, I couldn't resist.
So,
But so that was my that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I didn't know anything about it until 20 years ago. So for 60 years of my life, I'm walking around like, happy life, happy guy, just had no idea. And then it all comes out, and it's crazy, And they all told me all the regression issues. You need to listen to your tapes. The first time I went under, you need to listen to these over and over and over, because you'll find things you forgot. You need to keep listening to them. And I didn't. I shoved them up there. I said, God, I don't want to know. I don't think, And they did find out I did have a past life on top of everything else. But anyway,
I was going to say, you went for a past life and you ended up with all this. I was wondering if you ever got back to the past life regression.
Yeah. I was. Either I witnessed a woman being killed, or I killed her. We haven't figured that during the Jack the Ripper days. I remember seeing the blood flowing down the cobblestone streets. I saw, intestines and guts laying everywhere. I saw this woman just splayed open on the sidewalk or on the street. I remember the black the black gas lamps, lighting up the area. That's the only light there was. So I remembered that, and I was a woman. I either watched this woman be killed, or I had guilt because I couldn't help her. So, but that came out, and that's so secondary to all this other stuff, but it did come out, So anyway,
wow.
I could sit here and talk to you for another 2 hours, and
I'm sure, yeah.
You'd have to just pull the plug, because I'd still be talking. It's so bizarre, but that's the Cliff Notes version of it all, and so, and that, I don't know if that influenced my interest in the Sasquatch or the paranormal or any of that kind of stuff. I don't recall being intrigued by any of that. I knew when I saw the first Leonard Nimoy show,
In Search of
the Bigfoot, I went, oh, I saw that. That is cool. I believe that is all. And but I'd already been taken who knows how many times. So, that may be another reason why I got into some of the bizarre things, because I was attracted to it. Well, because I've already been baptized, I've already been subjected to it half of my life, apparently, So it was no wonder I was attracted to these type of subjects, I'll never know, but,
So we are coming up on the end of the show here. If anybody has any more questions, please put them in the comments. We are live today, so if you have questions or comments, throw them in there. We'll get them in before the end of the show. I was going to ask you, I know we can talk forever on Bigfoot as well, and we haven't even touched on any of that, but in your opinion, you talk about your weird experiences with these creatures. Do you think that they are extraterrestrial or interdimensional, like, well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
As far as that, yeah. Do you talked about the tall aliens and the gray aliens. Did you ever see any of the other species or any other forms of those beings?
No. Are you familiar with the podcast with Brian Bland out of Canada? Michael Farrell, Pork and Bean Show. It's out of Canada. Anyway, Michael Farrell's part of the team. When he was graduating college, him and about 20 other people in whatever class they were in, they did a study, and this is for psychology or some other class. How many people have been abducted? And if you were abducted, if you were awake the entire time. So they did a study all over the world. I think they got like 2,000 people in the study eventually, not all at once, but you name the 5 aliens or paranormal type beings that you saw on the craft from the time you got there to the time you left. The criteria was you had to be awake once they took you out of your bed or wherever they took you from, you were awake the entire time. So you saw everything that was going on. The reptilians, the Nordics, Greys, Sasquatch, and the tall, very, very, very super tall Nordics, where they're like 10 feet tall. Sasquatch were there, acting like they're supposed to be there. They're just rummaging around, hanging out. Yeah, I believe them to be paranormal and going through portals in different dimensions. You know, I've got some of my witnesses, my habituation people, tell me about that stuff. You know, and so I can't ignore that. And having seen and experienced what I have, it's like, and you know, I've experienced the paranormal stuff. We talked about that one thing earlier before the show, and my wife was there watching it, and it was Sasquatch related. You know, they made me see something that I was not there, and I could not have possibly been, yet I was seeing it, and I was freaking out. My wife was sitting there going, "What is wrong with you?" So I mean, there's stuff going on. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true, you know. And you know, just because you consider it doesn't mean you believe it. All you got to do is just consider it, read the books. If you still think it's all a bunch of baloney, okay, well, don't believe it, you know. But there's weirdness going on in the world, as you and I know. Barnaby, I got to ask, Barnaby, are you a Jed Clampett fan?
Less and less nowadays.
That's right. The Barnaby Jones. I just saw that. That was great. I was going, wee doggy.
That is my real name, as many people have asked.
That is really cool. That's real. Well, that's cool. I mean, that's cool. I was going, I gotta give him a dig. Let's see. You know, because sometimes you guys just take monikers, names off because they don't want to get the root. So anyway, so anyhow, you can buy these books off my webpage. If you email me, I'll return the email. You know, my website is sqexplorer@gmail.com. That's my email. The website is sqexplorer.com. So the email is that same thing, but at gmail.com. You can find the books. I'm good. You know, they're all very nice. They're full color. They're nice paper. They're not cheap, you know, paperbacks. They're nice gloss paper, autographed, signatures, a lot of photos. You know, there's no fiction. These are all true stories from real people. So if you think this is all a bunch of hooey, well, buy them anyway. Maybe I'll change your mind. But you know, these are all real people having these beings living on their properties for a couple of years to a couple of generations or longer. So it's pretty crazy stuff. I was lucky enough to have these people allow me on their properties and witness some of this stuff. It's just bizarre, you know. Anyway,
the website link and link to all of the books on Amazon is in the show notes for anybody that's interested. You can click there and go over there and check all that out. Those are there. Octopus with No Friends says thank you for being on the show today. And wasn't that a character on Dark Shadows? Barnabas Collins was from Dark Shadows. Yes,
close. You know.
Yeah. I trust me. I have heard everything.
Yeah. Well, I heard, but yeah, when I was going to school, Carter. So it was, Carter's Little Farter Starter. So that was the first thing every smart ass kid could think of. So I've heard them too. So I don't care. It rolls off my back.
But I bet you can get a loan and a job application with your name.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Anybody past a certain age takes one look at it and tosses it in the trash. So
yeah. Wee doggy. Here's that Barnaby again. Yeah. Well, I'd love to do a Sasquatch show with you if you're,
absolutely. Yep.
Looking on down the road or something. But
Yep. We will talk after the show and stuff and get some stuff set up, and
okay.
Love to have you on, and we'll talk all about Bigfoot and all of your experiences over there as well. So Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for listening. If you have any last questions, get them in there real quick here. But Carter, we got all of your stuff for links for your books and your website and everything. Are you going to be at any events coming up that you want to promote or anything like that? Any other shows that you're going to be on?
No. I've got one in November, but I think we're not doing that one. I think the host is retired from the business. But no, I was supposed to go film. We're doing a documentary on this book. I was supposed to go down to Texas and film a portion of it, but that got canceled yesterday just due to everybody's schedules. So anyway, no, I've got nothing else coming on the rest of the year. So hint, anybody listening, I'm lonely, so I need to be held and talked to. Please.
Awesome. Octopus with No Friends says, "Oh yeah, oh hell yeah, more Sasquatch stuff with Carter." So looking forward to having that. So
Okay.
that'll be coming up. We will get that set up. So
Cool.
awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, man. You were
Hey, I enjoyed it
much
immensely. It
fun.
was awesome.
Absolutely, man. So, all right, you take care. And if you guys want to check out his books and stuff, head over to the show notes. All the links are there for that, and you can check it out over there. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Appreciate it. Goodbye, everybody.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. I want to remind you again, as I did at the top of the hour, starting in October, the Paranormal Spectrum will be moving to noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, or 10 a.m. Pacific. Starting in October, all the shows will be moved. Coming up, guys, stay tuned here on the Untold Radio Network. My original guest on Monday got bitten by a rattlesnake and could not make the show. So I had another pre-scheduled interview this week. So that will actually air at noon today after this show. So in about an hour, that episode will air, and you will get to see Paranormal Spectrum in a couple minutes here. So that's coming up later today on the Paranormal Spectrum, a pre-recorded episode. But today we are all done here on the Paranormal Spectrum. We will be back next week. Who's going to be on next week? Let's see. Next week on the Paranormal Spectrum, we have Daniel Jackson is going to be on. He has a brand new book out, and on Monday and next week, it's going to be the first ever 2-part episode here on Monsters on the Edge. We have Tyler Bowens from Finding Bigfoot, and those are going to be really cool episodes. He went a little long in his pre-recorded episodes, so we split it into 2. So for the next 2 weeks on Monsters on the Edge, you get Tyler Bowens. So it's going to be great. He's got some amazing stories from Finding Bigfoot and all kinds of other stuff. So that's what's coming up here. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate here. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this for all of your friends. And until next time, guys, remember, we're all part of the Paranormal Spectrum. So take care, be well, and I'll see you next week.
You seem to know something I don't. What's going on?